Yes, like Mr. Brown said, it's time to rethink what we can do. And it's definitely starting from us. Everything starts from us in actually helping Hong Kong and also the world to achieve sustainability, right? And Hong Kong is basically a wonderful place to start and just a lot of opportunities and potentials ahead. Next, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Startup Showcase. Today we have the privilege to have a few speakers to share with us on their entrepreneurship experiences. First of all, may I invite Mr. Dennis Takarik, co-founder and Chief Commercial Officer of AccuReef. Please welcome. Okay, before he comes up on stage, I would like to just give you some more information about the upcoming sessions. We're going to invite the first speaker on stage here to tell us more about his business and entrepreneurship experience. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome Mr. Dennis Takarik, co-founder and Chief Commercial Officer of AccuReef. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. So I am Dennis Takarik, Chief Commercial Officer at AccuReef. We're essentially a company that does eco-engineering, applies material science from marine backgrounds to marine structures, and tries to recover lost biodiversity. As you may have seen recently, looking at statements and headlines like the ones from WWF, there's obviously a very strong need for changes as far as environmental protection is concerned. In fact, a lot of the publications that we see talk about wildlife loss to the tune that we've not seen before. If you look at the headlines in particular, I think what you'll see is that the focus of most of the stories is what happens above the surface. And rightly so. We look at forests, they're more tangible to us. We look at the loss of rainforests, we look at the loss of biodiversity in areas that are more visible to us. But today, I'm actually here to talk about what we do, and that's the ocean. That's what's below the surface. We as a company specifically focus on coral reefs, and if we look at coral reefs in particular, over the last 70 years, we've already lost 50% of all cover in the world. And if none of our behavior changes, by 2050, 90% of reefs will be gone. This will have an impact on a number of industries. Reef tourism, for example, which is worth $36 billion in revenue, will completely disappear along with the reefs. The fishing industry provides food for 1.2 billion people around the world, and it will ultimately suffer and collapse because of this threat. And coastal communities will lack protection from the likes of tsunamis, leading to damages of over $270 billion. Let me repeat that one more time. Reef tourism is worth $36 billion. Reefs provide food for 1.2 billion people around the world. And coral reefs help us save up to about $270 billion in flood protection. Unsurprisingly, the UN has declared this the decade of ecosystem restoration, and just like WWF, highlights the need for change. But the problem is, ecological restoration doesn't scale so easily. It requires a lot of industrial effort, it requires large engineering projects, and it ultimately is not done by an individual or by a small group of people. That's where our product and our company comes in. We've ultimately developed the world's first 3D printed reef tile here in Hong Kong. After about 7 years of research at the University of Hong Kong, this was the product that came out from that. A reef tile that is made from clay and is completely 3D printed using an algorithm that's put into place. This is essentially the meeting point of engineering, material science, and marine science. The way our technology works is that we take into account local ecological data, feed that into an algorithm, and the algorithm then defines the design using a 3D printer of the top layer that you can see here. The top layer then is put together with a standardized base and is then 3D printed using these 3D printers. The top layer is a biomimicry layer, so it aligns a lot better with what nature expects. Once that happens, we send a diver down, and a single diver can carry these units, put them in place, put some coral fragments on top, and in an ideal case, after a while, they look something like this. And this is actually a site from Hoi Ha in Hong Kong. The results that we've been able to deliver with this product are leading the industry at this stage. We deliver 98% survivorship for the coral reefs, meaning that that's 4 times higher than any other traditional methods used before. We have a high level of scalability because we're modular and we print items that are carried by a single person. And we have our own eco-engineering facility in Abu Dhabi from where we put R&D into practice as far as ecological projects are concerned. This has received quite a bit of recognition around the world. For example, we have won the Coastal Tourism Challenge of the World Economic Forum this year. We've won a gold medal at the International Exhibition of Inventions in Geneva. But most importantly, in comparison to what's out there today, we are ultimately better on survivorship. We are a lot more eco-friendly than solutions that have been tried before. And the scalability is a lot higher because we base our product on an algorithm. The way we work is that we sell to businesses. We sell on the basis of square meter deployments that they would want to go for, and then add a subscription for the maintenance of the coral reef structures to them. At this moment in time, we're doing average ticket sizes of about 100,000 US dollars. With that being the case, in 2021, we did 140,000 in revenue. Before the end of this year, we've already done 500,000, so more than 3x our revenue numbers, and we are now on track to do 2.7 million for next year. Across Hong Kong and Abu Dhabi in particular, we work with some of the most recognizable companies. You might have seen us in conjunction with Sino Group and Ocean Park here, but in Abu Dhabi, we work with a sovereign wealth fund called ADQ, but also with a commodities company called Sanad. Across both Asia as well as the rest of the world, we've been able to enter some of the most competitive programs. We have also been selected as a speaking company at COP27 in Egypt later this year, and we've been included in the Forbes 100 Asia to watch. But what's most exciting for us is actually that we made that step away from Hong Kong, being born in Hong Kong. We've ultimately created a production facility in Abu Dhabi on the invitation of the local government there, and built from scratch what you can see here on the images. We now have a facility that allows us to take R&D and deep science and put it into practice and deliver products again and again that don't just relate to coral reefs, but to any other marine ecosystems. As mentioned before, I'm Dennis. I'm the CCO and co-founder of the company. Prior to this, I led a number of startups that I founded myself to multi-million-dollar revenues. But I am joined on this journey by probably the more impressive people, being the scientists. And that's Vrico and David, who have been working on our initial product, like I said, for about 7 to 8 years before it actually came out and proved to be the leading product in the market. We are also raising a seed round. I don't know how relevant that is to this event, but we are raising a seed round of $1 million, which is just about to close, actually. And that round is led by ADQ, the previously mentioned sovereign wealth fund in Abu Dhabi. If you want to join our journey, we have a number of projects in the pipeline. So we are now looking to create the world's next generation of coral highways, a completely new project that's more modular and more granular than what we've done so far. And it will allow us to create a set of structures at the bottom of the ocean that are something like we have not seen before. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you. That's really interesting and powerful, the work that you do. Thank you. Next, we're going to learn from 2 more speakers who are going to share with us on their entrepreneurial journey. Well, that's very interesting what Dennis is doing, and we talked about a lot on sustainability today. And maybe you didn't imagine, and you could not imagine, the ecosystem actually at the sea can also impact our livelihood. Next, let's welcome our speaker, Mr. Justin Chan, co-founder and chief executive officer of Gents Technologies, to come on stage and share with us on his entrepreneurial journey. Please welcome.
Right, thank you very much. So I'm Justin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Gents. And perhaps I will start with the product demo itself, so just to visualize a bit what we do. So in essence, we have a portable medical imaging device that does two things. We do preventive screening, so early detection of diseases. Second thing we do chronic disease management, so preventing things from getting bad without us knowing. So with this, we have two main sort of setups. The first one, the device that you see here, is the main imaging device. It's just a stimulation and also connects to the internet, with the cloud algorithm and then going to the app side of things. So other than connecting to the app, where we can read results, we can do quite a lot of other things. We connect to the sensors. So it's a bit hard for me to do right now, but essentially it's a belt that we wear around the place we want to scan. So for example, we're looking at three organs mostly. We're looking at lung, liver, and kidney. So when we look at lungs, we wear this around the place we want to scan. So it's around the chest area. And then it's basically just wrapping around to do a cross-sectional image. So we do 5 minutes, there's no radiation. And then we have the results basically in real time. And then we're looking at COPD, long COVID, ILD, quite a lot of different diseases. A bit lower, we do liver diseases. So we're looking at fatty liver mostly. And then further lower, we look at chronic kidney disease. So all of these are from 5 minutes to lower plots, 1 minute, and then we're done. So it's quite simple. So other than those three organs, we also have quite a lot of research going on in heart and breast cancer and tendon diseases in quite a lot of different places as well. So that's us. There's several awards we won with Forbes, with the Alibaba Jumpstart, the Hong Kong government awards as well. So we're a bit recognized regionally, and it's a team. So it's very much we do everything by ourselves. So from the electronic side to the clinical side and the algorithm side, where we have basically 7 PhDs right now in the team, with more coming in next month. And then, from the hardware to the software to the clinical trials, all of those are done by ourselves. And we do have a decent sort of academic backgrounds from this as well. Other than this, we also have quite a lot of research partnerships. So this is Hong Kong, but we also have global partnerships that we have as well in UK and Netherlands and the US. So in Hong Kong, we have 10 professor partnership with us. So we're talking about clinical trials where we publish our results with them. That's how we gain trust. And at the same time, we do have engineering partnerships where we're improving our medical imaging technology, how we do image reconstruction, how we do mathematical modeling on all of those as well. But the interesting part is that we actually own all the IPs from all the partnerships that we have. So that's one of the strengths that we have from this as well. And we're also quite good with grants. So there are several million US that we have secured so far. On this, reference cases. The Queen Mary Hospital in Hong Kong is one of the top hospitals in Hong Kong, has been using our stuff, and it's been deployed with a lung, liver, kidney. The Hong Kong government has also used us as a COVID recovery monitoring tool. So especially in the fourth wave or before, it's a lot more tense in Hong Kong. So what we did was that we sent the device to whoever got discharged from hospital, have it quarantined in a home for like 14 days. They can self-monitor every day for like 5 minutes, and then we can remotely monitor them. But it goes beyond that as well. So it's being deployed in B2B2B channels, where we're going to offices to do screenings that they don't have to go to clinic, where we're screening like 30 people in one visit. And there are things like we're going into elderly homes where they want to monitor elderlies without sending them to clinics all the time, and then we can pick up disease early as well. So other than that, globally, we have around 20 markets directly just actively approaching us as well. So those are only counting hospitals, medical practitioners, medical distributors. And those include usual suspects in the US and Europe, Australia, and obviously closer in the Chinese or Southeast Asia region as well. So one thing that we do, and it's quite important, is that how we build trust. So for us, all of our indicators are benchmarked against gold standards or clinical standards. So the way we mean by clinical standard is that when you go to a doctor, they suspect you might have certain diseases. They ask you to do a certain test. And if those are commonly agreed as the test to go for, we call it clinical standards, gold standards. So what we did was that when we did our clinical trials, and we wear the belt and do the clinical standard at the same time. And we estimate and compare the results. And that's how we get our accuracy, so sensitivity, specificity from that. So for lung function test, basically we breathe into a tube, and then we look at something called FEC, FEV1, FEC, and the ratios of it, and quite a lot of other things. And in this, we achieved over 95% of sensitivity and specificity when we're distinguishing between disease and normal subjects. So that's one of those, and then that would allow us to look at quite a lot of disease diagnosed by those lung function tests with COPD, ILD, asthma, and we're monitoring long COVID as well. Similarly for the liver, we're looking at fatty liver disease, so benchmarking against ultrasound and MRI PDFF. Kidney, we look at blood tests and urine tests as well. So going to the next slide, we're talking about the philosophy of why we're doing this and how we're going to move forward with this. So overall, it's quite simple. We're really looking at accessibility. So we look at this in three ways. The first one is the affordability. It's important because we're right now looking at early detection. So one of the preventive hurdles of early detection is that it's basically quite prohibitive in terms of the pricing for you to do tests quite frequently. So when you're looking at tests that cost 4 digits Hong Kong, like several thousand or even tens of thousands of Hong Kong, you don't do it when you don't have a high risk. So what we're trying to do is that it's something that it's essentially a couple $100 to $1,000. We even go to your places, like your office, your home, and we deliver the test to you. So affordability is really important in the sense that how we can do close monitoring, how we can do early detection as well. So we're recommending monthly or quarterly screening so that we can be on top of things. So that's the first one. Second one is that, for obvious reasons, has to be portable. So obviously, even before COVID, the hospital, the sort of general healthcare system is quite overwhelmed. So what we did is that we make it deployable at home in community centers, elderly centers. And we have to have something small enough for them to carry around and put in those places. So that's the second thing that's quite obvious. Third thing, I think it's, if not more important, it's as important as the first two, is that the training required. So quite a lot of the devices, like when you look at ultrasound, they're going more portable, but at the same time, they still require highly trained individuals to operate those. So when you ask a doctor or ask a general, public healthcare sector in Hong Kong or in quite a lot of places in the world, do you actually lack ultrasound or other diagnostic machines over the people that can operate those? It's always the professionals that can operate those equipment. So what we do is that it's really simple. It's just about that you put on. If you're training someone to help people put this on, it's basically 15, 30 minutes of training. So it's a lot more deployable in those sort of common settings as well. And that won't be bottlenecked by medical personnel. And that's how we look at accessibility in general. So these are some of our sort of interfaces. So you can see there are apps on the left-hand side where the user can look at, we can look at the indicator of the risk factor right away. After the test, there are medical images that we can look at for reference. And then there are also indicators, so numbers that you can refer to and looking at which range you fall into. And obviously after that, we have follow-ups as well. So for example, if you're screened out with a risk factor in fatty liver, we tell you how do you manage those, what are the consequences if you don't, and things like that as well. And obviously there is also a service provider version where we work with B2B partners. It could be elderly homes, clinic chains, primary care service providers, where they can do pension management and then do the entire test of those as well. And yeah, just in a nutshell, that's what we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you for sharing with us the amazing thing that you've been doing. Thank you. That's making medical imaging more accessible, it's portable, and it's also low cost. Next, let's welcome on stage our other speaker, Mr. Martin Ross, co-founder and chief operating officer of TechPro Green Limited. Please welcome.
Hello, thank you everyone. My name is Martin Ross. I am the COO and Chief Operations Officer of TechPro Green Limited, a manufacturer of bioplastic products based in Hong Kong. Before I go into TechPro Green and what we do, I would like to express quick thanks to Invest Hong Kong for inviting me on the stage today, as well as everyone in attendance. I hope that my speech will give you some insights into bioplastic and their capabilities. So let's begin with the problem in Hong Kong, plastic waste. Hong Kong is the third highest plastic producer per capita in the world. Yet, current infrastructure only allows us to recycle but one type of plastic, PET plastic bottles. So what happens to the rest? The rest of our plastic, the plastic bags, the shopping bags, the cutlery, the utensils, they all end up in landfill or our oceans. Of 16 landfills in Hong Kong, 13 are full and closed. The remaining 3 are filling fast due to the pandemic and plastic waste from the pandemic, and expected to fill up in the next 5 years' time. The main issue with plastic is with its disposal. Single-use plastic products take up to 1,000 years to degrade in any environment. And even then, they don't completely degrade. They degrade into smaller particles called microplastics. Long story short, plastics are polluting our home. Plastics have been found in the Mariana Trench. For all of you guys that don't know what that is, it's the deepest part of our oceans. Plastic has been found falling from the sky in the rain and the snow. Plastic has been found in the food we eat on a daily basis. Plastics are everywhere, and they're not leaving. The world has no idea how to handle plastic, and that is very evident in the chart you see in front of you. Over the last 200 years, 100 years, 50% of the plastic we've produced ends up in landfill, whereas I've previously stated, it takes over 1,000 years to decompose into smaller and smaller particles called microplastics, which infect our environment and our health. "22% of the plastics we've manufactured ends up being dumped or burned in uncontrolled piles. This leads to toxic fumes entering our atmosphere and affecting our health. 19% is incinerated. Even with the newest incineration technologies, fumes are still leaked into our environment and affecting our health. On a good note, 9% of plastic is allegedly recycled, but of that 9%, 40% is thrown away due to organic contaminants. We at TechPro Green are committed to tackling the plastic problem, especially in Hong Kong. TechPro Green is a subsidiary of TechPro Group. TechPro Group is a manufacturer of critical plastic components used in the medical, chip making, and ophthalmic industries. Right now, there's no substitution for sustainable materials for the products we produce for TechPro Group. However, that's why we started TechPro Green in an effort to help us reach carbon neutrality. TechPro Green is a manufacturer of compostable and biodegradable plastic products. We offer our clients unique solutions based on their specific needs and requirements. Right now, we're manufacturing in Kwai Chung, Hong Kong, but as our capacity increases, we're looking to move to the advanced manufacturing site in TKO, just built up by the Hong Kong government. So, why bioplastic as the solution? As I previously stated, plastic takes 1,000 years to break down into smaller and smaller particles. Compostable products take only 6 months in the right conditions. Within 6 months, compostable bioplastics biodegrade into mineralized biomass, carbon dioxide, and water. Not only that, we have been doing testing with HKPC, and within 46 days of testing, our products have biodegraded by 85.5%. We are also doing a test with HKBU to test our materials within OPARC 1 conditions. OPARC 1 is a food waste digester on Lantau Island, which is a waste-to-energy plant. The bioplastics we use also release less carbon and use less energy throughout the full life cycle of these products. And the best benefit of all, no microplastics are released throughout the full lifespan of our products. As I've briefly stated, we work on a project-by-project basis. Our first client resides in the US, and he's a medical client. Throughout the pandemic, we started selling PPE to him in the US, and we started seeing more and more articles from BBC, CNN about the impact of the pandemic on our environment. So he commissioned us to create a compostable glove for medical industry, and so far, after 6 months of research development, we've created a single-use compostable glove, which can be composted within 6 months' time. So I'm not going to bore you too much about technical data of bioplastics, but for those who care, we use two main types of bioplastic. The first, polylactic acid, is made from starch-based materials, potato, cornstarch, cassava plant. It's quite self-explanatory. The second we use is polyhydroxyalkanoates. This is the newest blend of bioplastic entering the industry. It's made from bacteria and microbes eating vegetable oils which synthesize a polymer inside their internal shell. We use this polymer as a building block for all bioplastics. So after we finished producing the gloves, and now we're in mass manufacturing, we decided, okay, how can we help Hong Kong? This is where we came up with the idea for a compostable bio-waste bag, which will be used to collect food waste for O-Park 1 operations. We've been talking to Hong Kong-based supermarkets and implementing our bio bags within their operations, such as the fruit and vegetable bags that people use to bring fresh produce home. This can then in turn be used to collect food waste and be disposed of in the O-Park 1 conditions that I've previously mentioned. This will help us not only decrease our food waste and plastic waste, it can also help us increase the amount of green energy produced in O-Park 1 through the methane collection system they currently have incorporated. As with every single new initiative, we must think about education. Tangible differences come from education, and it requires community effort and involvement. For every single bio bag that we produce, we'll be printing a QR code on these bio bags, which will educate consumers about food waste, which you can and cannot collect, and where to dispose of it. Finally, we'll also help the EPD by educating our consumers on MSW charging scheme coming to effect in 2023. For those who don't know, in next year's time, we'll be all charged by the amount of waste we produce, but recyclables and food waste are exempt from that charging scheme. So far, we've been talking to many conglomerates in retail and food and beverage outlets, and we've already started discussions with renowned retail outlets in Hong Kong. So far, we've got 2 that have agreed to a testing phase, which we'll be implementing into Discovery Bay, starting this December and January with our fruit and vegetable bags. We chose Discovery Bay because the EPD has already implemented an infrastructure for food waste collection with regards to popol bins special for food waste, which will be brought to O-Park 1. This allows us to look at the historic data from the food waste collection services over the last year, and we can have a quantifiable impact on how much our new initiative has impacted food waste collection and how much decreased emissions from carbon emissions, as well as decreased plastic usage from this new initiative. As we grow, we hope to implement more unique solutions with regards to more product categories to decrease single-use plastic in Hong Kong. We're already looking at shopping bags, polymailer bags, aprons, gloves to help not only the retail industry, but also the medical industry become more sustainable. As we grow and more product categories are added to our list, we also hope to take the waste management into account and create an aerobic waste management system within Hong Kong, or if possible, within the Greater Bay Area. We also will continue to invest into research development, and hopefully in time, we would like to incorporate our own waste-to-energy sites within Hong Kong. I invite all of you to walk with me on this journey, to join TechPro Green in creating a more sustainable future. If any of you guys have any questions or would like to talk about the bioplastics and their capabilities within Hong Kong, me and my team will be staying around the event for a bit longer and more open to any questions after the event is completed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Martin. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you once again to representatives from AccuReef, Jens Technologies, and TechPro Green. So please feel free to contact them and talk to them and know more about what they're doing. They're definitely game changers and making our world a better place to live in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I let you go, just a quick preview of what's going to happen in the afternoon. We have a very exciting program in the afternoon, so do come back sharp at 2 o'clock because we're going to start at a very, very right on point at 2 o'clock. So we have Seeking Alpha, where Gobi partners are going to share with us with 4 other startups on Hong Kong sustainable startups, how they're doing in Hong Kong and what they do to help us to build a better future. Next, we also have Impact Valley powered by SVHK. We have a speaker to talk about how startups collectively reimagine a sustainable community. So do stay with us if you're interested. We also have exhibitions going on in rooms S423 to 427. And we also have the startup clinic where you can meet experts in marketing, legal, HR, and finance, etc. So if you do need their assistance or advice, do go visit them. And this will conclude our morning program. We'll see you after lunch and be back at 2 o'clock. See you later.